Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all having a good Christmas. It's the final upload before Gameweek 17, the Experts. This series consists of hundreds of participants, including some top all-time managers and content creators. Every week we ask the experts what their transfer plans are, their captaincy, chip strategy, and we build an experts team from their most owned players. This wisdom of the crowd approach will guide you to better decisions and a better rank. So if you'd like to improve your rank and get help winning your mini leagues, make sure you subscribe him. The top expert heading into Gameweek 17 is David Vo, who's currently 2.7k overall after scoring 62 back in Gameweek 16. We welcomed an additional 15 experts to the series over the break, which will give us additional valuable data points, and thanks as always to the experts involved, and we'll continue to highlight the top ranked manager each week. Next up is the transfer activity among the experts, a slightly different segment to the usual transfers in and out. We've listed the top 30 highest owned players with their ownership percentages. Unsurprisingly, Haaland's the only player with 100% ownership among every expert. After Haaland, Darwin's actually the highest owned forward with 84% ownership. We know that Jota and Diaz are both injured long term, so he's a nailed forward for Liverpool, who does take a lot of shots, he racks up a lot of XG, but his finishing leaves a lot to be desired at times. We'll pick a few other names out. Bueno comes in with a massive 63% ownership, while only 3.7% owned among the wider player base. Later in the video, when we look at the experts team, we'll actually compare the overall percentage ownership to the experts ownership. Bueno did play the 90 in Moore's final 6 games before the break, and in their most recent friendly. 3.9 mil is why he's such a popular pick. Patterson the other budget defender with 20% ownership and 4 mil. Salah vs De Bruyne has been a massive talking point in the lead up to the deadline. There's not a great deal in it, but Salah is the experts' favourite with 59% ownership to De Bruyne's 46%. On the right hand side, we've got Mount at the top with 14% ownership, which is just over double the overall player base is. He's not had a great season so far with 2 goals and 3 assists, but Chelsea have 2 good fixtures against Bournemouth and Forest before their double game week. There's a lot of really strong midfield options around that price bracket. Rashford at 83% ownership, Foden 25%, Saka at 16%, Kulusevski at 10% and Trossard at 6%. Kane with 8% ownership is unbelievably low when you consider that he's the second top scoring player in the game, 15 attacking returns so far this season. It's a very tough call which premium to pick after Haaland, when you've also got the likes of Salah and De Bruyne too. Greenwood from Leeds with 11% ownership is an indication that a lot of experts are running with a front 2 formation, 3-5-2 or 4-4-2 most likely. Greenwood's 4.2 mil, very unlikely to get any minutes, but the cheapest forward in the game. Sanchez and Dunk just about make the top 30 owned players with 5% ownership. As per Ben Crellin, they have at least a 75% chance of a double game week 21 in his view, perhaps enough reason to include one of them in our drafts. A quick look at the chip usage and then we'll look at the captaincy and the experts team. No chips active in Game Week 17, the bench boost and triple captain the only 2 chips which are usable this game week. 2.1% have used their free hit already, 1.8% have used their bench boost, and 0.8% have used the triple captain. There are still 11 postponements yet to be rearranged. A huge double game week will fall later in the season, which will be the time to consider using those chips. Chip strategy will be key with this in mind, and it'll be very helpful getting the insight from a large pool of experts, so make sure you subscribe to the channel to follow this series for the remainder of the season. Onto the experts captaincy, and we'll keep it very brief this week as it's unbelievably one-sided. All but one expert have got the captain armband on Haaland. Aaron is going for Rashford captain. He's finished top 10k in his last 2 seasons. I caught up with him during the week and asked what the thinking was behind the pick. He said, 1. First of all, he's in form and high confidence. He's playing against Forest at Old Trafford. I believe Henderson's not playing this fixture, so it could easily become a big win for United with Rashford playing up high. Secondly, I've had a bad season so far, so I do need to gain up ground, and I'm looking for some calculated risks. And third, Haaland is the obvious pick, but Leeds away can be a tricky fixture for City. Best of luck to Aaron with the Rashford pick. Onto the experts team reveal, which is a team built from their highest owned players, and the team is as follows. It's a 3-4-3 with Kepa in goal, a premium back 3 of Cancelo, Trippier and James, the midfield is Salah, Martinelli, Rashford and Almiron, and a front 3 of Mitrovic, Haaland captain and Darwin. We've included the percentage ownership among both the experts and their overall player base, so pause and rewind here if you need to spot some players the experts are keen on which might be overlooked. One example is Kepa, who is 75% owned among the experts but 4% overall. Another one that leaps out is Nketiah with 11% ownership among the experts but just 1% overall. Perhaps the best differential in the game right now in Jesus' absence. but there's a lot of strong forward options. Another one's Martial, who 32% of the experts own, but just 3% overall. Mitrovic has very recently become yellow flagged. Marco Silva didn't give too much away, but simply said Mitrovic is a doubt. This has presented Martial and Nketiah as popular alternatives, those two in particular because they're about the same price and they could still be sold for Mitrovic when double Gameweek 19 rolls around for him. Almiron's been one of the top value picks of the season. Unbelievably, after 17 game weeks, he sits top among all midfielders on points. He's risen 0.8 mil to 5.8 mil, but he's still a bargain if he can continue his output. Andreas makes his way into 86% of experts' teams and on the bench this game week. He's been a bargain as well, with 2 goals and 5 assists. Fulham do have a double Gameweek 19, as mentioned, where some managers may bench Almiron, who does have a single game week away to Arsenal. That said, he has scored against Tottenham and Man City this season. Each game week we ask the experts to offer their insight and tips for the game week ahead. We've included more than usual this week as there's so much to talk about and it's a great spread of thoughts here. Fantasy football scout Joe says price points are vital after the break when some of our assumptions about the players and teams could be wrong. Have at least one 8mm midfielder. Many in this price range are likely to perform well and having that slot means you can react quickly. Hot Nights United says real dilemma with Chelsea here. Fixtures and double game weeks scream for a double up, but their form and stats under Potter are terrible. Anyways, miss this tinkering and anxiety, so good to be back with FPL. FPL Berg says, with a strong template, teams will be very similar this week. The biggest difference is likely to be De Bruyne versus Salah. I've backed the City mid and hope that Liverpool's goals will come from Darwin. Joey says, treat this game week like the start of a new season, get the basics with a few puns, a total maverick team could lead to a disaster. FPL Fresh Prince says, time to go all in on the United triple up, great fixtures and expecting good things from a team that had a fair bit of momentum going into the break. Rashford and Bruno had an excellent World Cup campaign and Martial could be a great differential to Mitrovic. Roberto says, after such a long break in action, I find it difficult to have a good sense of what is what. We will have a better feel again after a game week or two, therefore I'll be using the wildcard to tighten up weak areas in my team and not to revamp it totally. Haaland captain. Evolution FC says, a piece of advice for newer players is not to fall into the allure of double game weeks. Remember that you're still going to have to deal with the players you've transferred in, and hits or chips may have to be used to move on from players as other teams also double. Vardy Boy says, I've decided to start with both De Bruyne and Salah instead of choosing between them, with a view of downgrading either one to the emergent 8mm mids. I've also decided to punt on Nketiah after the Jesus injury, as I think he will offer incredible value at his price. Marsh says, so many unanswered questions that will surely need a few weeks to be answered. Will the underperformers carry on their bad form, or will they have used the break to start fresh? Will Arsenal be able to maintain the title charge? Will FPL Towers ever give goalkeepers more points for a goal? Flair Player says, template is not a dirty word. And lastly, Marco says, we're back baby, eat, drink and be merry, even if your team gets no points. And that wraps up episode 17 of The Experts. If you found it useful, please drop the video a like and subscribe for weekly content to come for the rest of the season. See you soon for the next one.